and on audit.
Okay, thanks very much, Chairman. Thanks to Deputy Smith for raising the questions. So first thing I just want to say at this committee, and I would have intended to say it in writing to the 221 Plus group first, but just in the interest of clarity, the €2,000 payment that was paid to people in relation to the Scally report will be provided to the people who participated.
No initially, no change mind.
No, sorry, Deputy Kelly, I didn't say no initially. Sorry, just because a headline says that doesn't mean the case. I received a letter from patient advocates someday last week, and I said I'd be back on the issue.
Why did the HSC write
and I considered the factual position. As you know, when you are a minister, you get advice, you get information, you consider it, you make a decision. There was a view, a valid view, that Dr. Scally had recommended rather a payment of €2,000 be made to people who engaged with his process because they went through considerable expense and inconvenience. I think there's a logic that those who participated in the ORCOG also obviously had costs and expenses and sin clinicians and the likes as well. So I'll be confirming that in writing, but I just wanted to say that I know Deputy Smith hadn't directly asked it, but I thought it was pertinent to what you're saying.
This woman participated in none of these reviews. She's left out of everything.
Sorry, I'm getting to that now in a moment. Sorry, I'm just answering that. I just wanted to make that point because it would be disingenuous not to while I was here. Just the first thing is I don't have a lack of kind of curiosity, or I think at some point you suggested in relation to what happens in the labs. We did obviously publish, in consultation with working with the patient advocates, we did commission a piece of work in relation to the laboratory breakdown for the 221 Plus group. I did share that with the patient advocates and indeed with this committee, and indeed have taken questions on it in the House of the Oireachtas. It's certainly been sent to this committee, so if you haven't got it, I'll give it to you directly, but it's absolutely...
No, I do have it, but I was told it wasn't published.
Well, so the patient reps have it and this committee have it, which I consider probably means it's published, but yeah, it's available freely for members of the Oireachtas, for patient advocates and for anyone who wants it. And I've spoken at length to it in the Dáil.
Okay.
Obviously, we also had Dr. Scally's reports where he did find serious deficiencies in terms of procurement and a number of other things, but he did say that he didn't find that I don't have his words in front of me, represented any substandard or any safety concerns. And now on top of that, we also have ORCOG answering the question, is the programme working effectively? Now, I am conscious, and I did say to the Chair at the start of this meeting, that this committee is hearing directly from ORCOG next week, and I think it would be clumsy of me to endeavour to explain ORCOG's work when ORCOG are going to do it and they're qualified to do it. In relation to the question on audit, though, Dr. Henry may wish to add to this because I know there's a number of groups doing work on interval cancers and following Dr. Scally's recommendations. Remember, this whole debacle, audit is a good thing, firstly. Audit's a really good thing. The debacle arose from an audit that intended to disclose that never disclosed and caused a lot of pain and hurt to people. It's really important that audit is gotten right, and that's a key recommendation of Dr. Scally. A point Deputy Kelly has made several times vociferously, and I think Deputy Smith is making a similar point, is what about the people today? There's no audit today. When the audits recommence, will they be covered? I can't preempt the expert group review, but my view, and Dr. Henry might have a view on it, my view is they absolutely have to be, that there can't be a gap. But obviously I want to follow the group. But Dr. Henry, have you any information you could offer to the committee on that? This might be helpful. But
just wondering what will happen for this woman. The community has had to fundraise, and this is a poor working class community. They've had to go out to fundraise so that she could have her audit done privately. She wanted to know what went wrong, and she's found out now privately what went wrong. In fact, I was curious. I have a letter from the HSE, she gave me a copy of it, that said, we will give you your slides as long as you tell us where the audit has been done, because we have to be sure about where it's been done.
Thank you,
but we weren't sure about the labs that were carrying out the smear in the first place. And this is my question to you. What went wrong for her and for the women who've been paid vast sums of money?
And very respectfully, I don't know if anything went wrong or what went wrong, because you're
Aren't
talking
you
about an
curious
individual
what
case.
went wrong?
But I am aware of the limitations of screening, as are you. And I'm aware that cervical cancer is the most devastating disease and disproportionately affects younger women. But I would like Dr. Henry just to talk about
something else is what the NHS is. Something else can go wrong, and that's something else.
We've got to your question. Thank you.
Can happen in those.
Thank you.
First, Henry.
In relation to the lab report, when there's a whole range of quality assurance measures, and as we know from the lab report that was provided here, that the number of false negatives in relation to the overall workload of the lab is very small, and it's very difficult, therefore, to draw conclusions. There are other measures which are equally, if not more important, such as the number of false positives from a lab, which can cause much distress and unnecessary intervention and invasive surgery, even in some cases. negatives, and clearly also the number of high-grade findings. So from the report, it's difficult, because of the huge numbers in each lab, it's difficult to draw definitive conclusions. One other point I could make, Deputy, is that when you look at the timeline of cervical cancer, when the programme started in 2008, one would expect a higher degree of findings at the beginning of any programme because no screening programme existed beforehand. So there are a number of confounders when you try to examine the relative performance of each lab in relation to false negatives, the timing of the lab in relation to the programme, and also the demographics, the population which that lab will serve. In relation to the interval cancer and recognition of Deputy Kelly's interest in this in previous hearings, absolutely there can't be any gap, and we recognise the RCOG recognition that there should be that interval cancer audit. But there's just, I think it's worth reminding people, the purpose of interval cancer audit, or indeed any audit, is learning and improvement. That's the core purpose of it, is that programmes can learn and improve. And interval cancer audit, tied to duty of candour, means that, as prevails in England and Wales, means that the results of false negatives will then be communicated to women.
Not just interval cancer audit, it's full audit.
But I'm sorry, I'm not getting...
No, Deputy Smith, sorry.
There's been lots of interruptions. I know that.
No.
I just want the Minister to acknowledge that something else can go wrong. I read out the chapter.
Deputy,
I read from the chapter of the NHS report.
RCOG are coming next week. You're welcome to come to the committee meeting.
Very briefly on the point, there is nobody, and there's no Minister for Health in the world, who would suggest that things cannot go wrong in the health service beyond limitations of any procedure. Of course that's the case. But as you very well know, Deputy, to decide and determine that at the moment in Ireland is quite an adversarial process, and we need to reform it. That's why we have asked Judge Charles Meenan to do a body of work on tort reform. He's due to deliver an interim report to me any day now, I believe, definitely by the end of this year. And I hope that will guide us on how we can deal with things better without people having to go to court on all occasions.
But women are going to court because that's something else is not being identified.
You and I can't
Deputy, your
determine.
time is up. Sorry. Henry, one last comment, and then we're moving on to Deputy O'Reilly.
It is important to note that in RCOG's report, they note that the degree of discordance found in their exercise, looking back in an unblinded way, is no different from a much larger exercise carried out in England and Wales and a much greater number of people. And it's the only event that it's only such occasion we've had such an investigation of the cervical screening in a robust methodological way in this country.
Thank you, Dr. Henry. Now, Deputy
Because if
O'Reilly.
it was, the labs would not be paying out millions to women who had discordant results.
Deputy O'Reilly, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I have a